Welcome to another episode of Haunting the Haunted podcast with your hosts, David, Joe, and Sid. And today we are going to talk more about the Wendigo Skinwalkers, and we are going to keep on talking about the UFO today. Since Sid has all this information about it and her head's about to explode.
Just a little bit.
So, whenever you are ready, Sid.
So I really delved deep this past weekend with my best friend Anna. Shout out if you're watching. But we ended up watching a couple different documentaries, and I ended up taking a bunch of notes. And we ended up watching the Missing 411. Highly recommend if you're able to be on like Hulu or whatever the heck it is. But basically, this and Skinwalker Ranch is going to cover all of those different things. So have either one of you two heard of Skinwalker Ranch?
Yes, and that's a heavy topic in the paranormal field.
I want to go so bad I can't see straight. So for those of you who don't know, Skinwalker Ranch was also known as the Sherman Ranch. It's approximately 512 acres, and it's located right outside of Utah, or right outside of Ballard, Utah. It's everything from UFO sightings for the last 50 years, not like anything super new or recent, but it's been owned since 1934 from this family, and they have just documented cases ever since they moved in. And of course they wrote a book on it, but I mean, this specific ranch was actually originally called a UFO ranch. They have everything from odd events known by, let's see here, close to 100 incidences, including vanishing or mutilated cattle. And when I say mutilated cattle, I mean the owners of the ranch were there at one spot checking on the newborn cattle. They left, were gone for no more than 45 minutes, came back, and that same calf that they had just tagged was laid, sprawled out, so completely head facewards, arms out, legs back, completely eviscerated. There was no blood, there was no meat left. It was just spinal cord and bone and some muscle. But whoever was there had actually cut off the ear with the tag on it too. And all these things were done with surgical precision. These cuts were as clean as could be, and there was no blood around. So someone would have had to come and locate this single calf on the ranch, left, completely butchered the whole thing, came back and laid it out perfectly, and then ran away again. And all these different things have happened there. They have orbs and objects that are not only flying in the sky, but are flying through the forest as well. They actually had these large animals. So a lot of skinwalkers will actually present themselves as these massive wolves, these almost dire wolf type deals. And these really prominent hunters, these really educated and well-versed hunters had seen this wolf come through, not quite through the fence, but it had reached its head in there and grabbed a calf by the face and was trying to rip it out of the fence, out away from everything, out away from the protection. And the hunters came out and shot it, not once, not twice, but 6 or 7 times. And it never yelped. It never squealed. It never reacted a way an animal that is shot would typically react. And after a minute, it just let go of the mouth, or let go of the calf, and looked at the 2 people and just walked away. Not a sound, nothing was left after that. There were tracks and everything, but they couldn't find it. They chased it down. It got to a riverbed, and then all the tracks disappeared. All of it was gone. And this is just a couple of the things. There's actually a science team stationed out there right now, and they are actively running investigations. They have security cameras set up all over the place. But whatever is there, it's gotten so smart that it actually avoids all the security cameras. They want to do the scientific method of being able to disprove things, but when the thing is so smart that it just lies right outside of what you're able to do, and it's smart enough to do those kinds of things, and it can mimic and all these other crazy things, and it has been 50 years of nonstop, whether it was paranormal activity or all these other strange phenomena. There's even so-called a portal that might actually be at the Skinwalker Ranch too. There's a canyon site type deal. It's a little bit smaller, but it's a quartz cave. And anyone that knows witchcraft or anyone that knows metaphysical properties of quartz knows it's an amplifying or purifying, and it just acts as this massive beacon for whatever all those things are out there are. And it's so interesting to look at and just, are aliens and skinwalkers and wendigos all kind of the same deal? Do they all communicate with each other as gods? Like, there are so many different things that are just so, so interesting.
Yeah, I've heard of that before, where like ranchers, cattle, uh, get
People.
basically get skinned alive and eaten, and there's no trace of meat or blood like that. And that's been like one of those top topics that they report, So, and any paranormal show, like Paranormal Caught on Camera or whatever, they always say that stuff, and they always mention it. So I find it interesting that something out there that's cryptid, something, whatever, that can literally drain the blood of a cattle and leave the carcass and with
Not
no
even a
trace.
carcass, though. That's the thing. There was no meat. There was no organs. There was nothing.
Right.
Nothing. Just literally a skeleton. No, but yeah, Anna's. I love you, Anna. Thank you. She's coming back in. No bug activity or scavenging were on the corpses either. So whatever ate that thing left it with, whether it's radiation, which they have been able to notice, there's radiation on those farms. But those bugs and the maggots and things that would typically immediately jump on something, especially out in the middle of nowhere in Utah, will not touch these carcasses, will not touch them. And we don't know why. There was another story that on the farm, they had these prize bulls, and this is right after their calves were dying too. They had 4 of them, I think, 4 of these massive prize bulls, and they're big. They're like 2,000 pounds. And they came home one day, and after they had left the farm, they were going to check on other things. And they were like, man, it would be really bad if something happened to our bulls, because that's where all of our money is. And they came back after an hour, and those bulls are all gone. All 4 of them gone. And they end up looking around, and there is a little storage container, like a little shed, essentially. And somehow, some fucking way, they open the door, and all these bulls are standing like in a trance, cramped in right beside each other, completely out of it. And it took one of the owners to say, hey, wakey, wakey, what's going on? And all the bulls went ballistic, absolutely ballistic, destroyed the whole thing that they were in. How is something going to get those bulls into such a small space in such a short time, with them being so massive and so easily agitated? There's that. And then at the same time, that exact same pen, all the bars around it had been magnetized. Couldn't figure out why. There was no rhyme or reason, but they were so strongly magnetized that people were able to notice it almost right off the bat. 4,000 pounds of bulls cramped side by side. That's what it was, 4,000 pounds. But like, how? Why? And it's so interesting that, if it is an alien, if it is a skinwalker, a wendigo, or maybe the bulls, for some magical reason walked in there, what purpose would that have served? Whatever is out there that was smart enough to hear, oh, they're worried about these bulls, let's not kill them, but let's hide them and really freak them out. That is intelligent and sociopathic and wonderful. Like, that is a mind game that these people are playing, whatever is out there. And it's so interesting to hear all of it.
It kind of leads also, Sydney, to like alien abductions too, or killings.
Absolutely.
Or whatever also. Because, it's like you leave something for 45 minutes, you come back, and all there is skulls and bones or whatever it is out there laying on the ground, but no blood. I mean, that's kind of... that's kind of, you see that's kind of like unheard of. I mean, it's like one of those things, like if someone dies, if somebody gets killed or something like that, there's always going to be blood. There's always going to be,
there's a body trail.
Mass.
Or water balloons full of blood. Like, it's going to explode, and there's going to be DNA evidence somewhere, but there's none of it. And that's what's so damn interesting.
Yep.
It's and to have all of these top scientists to go, there is something otherworldly here that we don't know what's happening. We can't figure it out. They have had multiple scientist teams come out there and check everything out, and none of them are able to figure it out. There was actually a police officer. He had been with the force for quite some time, and he was driving, and he saw this bright white light ahead of him, And he remembers driving, and all of a sudden the sound of breaking glass and this bright white light. And he was gone, out for 10 minutes. Came to, and he was in pain. The clocks had stopped at a certain time, and they hadn't moved for about 15 to 20 minutes. And when the hospital actually took a look at him, they were actually able to diagnose him with high degrees of flash burns that you would get from welding. And he had these issues. He had the eyesight issues and all these other crazy things. And no one knows. No one can understand what's going on. And that's what I find is the most interesting, is that we just don't know.
Yeah, and they also say that like alien life can portray themselves as anything you know what they want you to see. So who knows?
And it looks like it is on Hulu. So if you guys do want to check out the Skinwalker Ranch, it is on Hulu. They even have veterinarians come out to the fields and everything and check on these cattle. And even the veterinarians are like, I don't know what this is. And they've had multiple veterinarians come out. They've had multiple people come out and try to figure it out. And no one knows. And it's, for some odd reason, this one spot in Utah is that hotbed of activity, whether it is portals or it is those quartz caverns or whatever it is that they have out there. To have all of that activity in one spot and to have it be such intense activity. A lot of times skinwalkers will also come with poltergeist activity. They had everything from they leave their house and they come back inside and everything's open. All the doors are open. All the windows are open. Everything's just, who else was there? Who got in? Who would have known where all of our security cameras were and weren't able to get in? Yeah. There's no way to explain these things that are happening on this plot of land.
Now, is it just like a few acres, or how big is this?
512 acres.
Which is equivalent to what?
512 acres? Give me a second. I don't do math.
There's mountainsides to it too, right? Because
yeah, it's not quite mountainy, but it's definitely hilly. So a little bit more.
Because I was gonna say, because there's shows saying that there's mountaintops, and on those mountaintops are unexplained UFO sightings too and whatnot. So there's like a plethora of stuff going on there. So
512 acres is, I'm not sure. I don't know how to figure that out. If anyone knows how to figure out mileage from
512 acres. I'm gonna Google it. You guys, how many square miles?
And again, remember that all this land, all the land in the U.S. was originally native land, but especially what in this place in Utah, it was heavily occupied native land. It has that history of these things. I've even heard of some Native Americans putting a curse on the hillside, and all these crazy things have happened. Going on to the Missing 411, another documentary and things I took notes on over the weekend. It's a handful of all these people who have all gone missing under the same kinds of circumstances. They have had, the one that sticks out to me is this line of hunters. They were about 150 yards away from each other. They've been doing it for years and years and decades. So these people knew what they were doing, and they knew how to do it. They knew how to communicate. They had the walkie-talkies. They had all of that. And when they came back to come together, one of the men was missing. No idea where he went. Completely gone. So they ended up searching top to bottom. He was an 84-year-old man with vision and hearing issues. He shouldn't have gotten far, but they have no idea where he's at. He's just gone. There were multiple events like this, everything from these people taking off their clothes and folding them nicely before running off and being found naked upside down in a river. But her face wasn't in the water and there was no water in her lungs, so she didn't die there. She was placed there. They had another man who was going back to camp to grab some provisions, and he ended up veering off into a different direction, and GPS tracked him going almost 9 miles the other way. And he carried his stuff with him the whole time. And they're claiming hypothermia is what got him. But it wasn't cold when he disappeared. And he stripped off his shoes and left them side by side next to each other in a place that was already searched by rescuers that hadn't noticed them before. And they were sat perfectly side by side, one by the other. A couple miles after that, they found his book bag and his weapon sat up perfectly, absolutely framed wonderfully by a tree. No snacks were missing, nothing was missing. Everything was very neatly put deliberately into certain places. And it wasn't just one person, it wasn't just two people. I think the documentary covered almost 10 or 11. And they were all under the same circumstances. They had talked to people, they had a point of separation. They ended up veering way far off course, and they were either found with no clothes, they weren't found, or they were found in someplace completely different that shouldn't have been there. But no matter what, they hadn't found anyone alive at this point. And it's all within these little clusters. And all these people are disappearing within these little clusters of area in these, the section of the US. And it's so interesting to see, not just, because again, they only went into a couple different really good cases, but I mean, there's 13 people missing here. There's 5 people missing in this cluster. There was 15 missing all within this certain amount of time frame and doing this and doing that. What is going on that none of us can figure it out? It's beyond the realm of human capability to be able to understand, but not only visualize what is not out there, what we're seeing and what we're not seeing. And it's just incredible. There was actually even a story out of here in Lima, Ohio. There was a big football meetup. They were doing marching band and all that. And all these band kids looked up and they see this big thing flying in the sky. And it was there for a couple minutes, and even the band director, and I know my band directors, Mr. McCoy was a no craps given, like he had to know what was going on. And even the band director looked up at the sky and goes, "What is that?" And at the exact same time, a couple, like a mile and a half away, I think it was, there was a hunter up in the tree. This woman was up in the trees, and she takes pictures every so often. You know, she likes getting the selfies with the trees in her way. And she's sitting there, and the way she described it was, it looked like a piece of saran wrap was being moved across the trees. There was something there in front of her that her mind couldn't go with. And it was up there in the trees. I'm talking at least 13, 14, 15 feet. And she just described it as this piece of plastic moving around her, like a bubble kind of moving, that kind of visual.
Like it was transparent.
Yes, but there was something just putting it off a little bit. And she was able to watch it. And at the same time, apparently she took a picture. She doesn't even remember taking the picture. So at that point, completely forgotten it. And she goes home to her husband, who I can't remember what his job was, but he was another no-nonsense man. He knew his technology. And he ended up taking a look at her phone. And he was clicking through everything, saw the cute selfies of his wife, or, you know, whatever. And all of a sudden there was one picture, and it had this crazy ray of light. All right. As a paranormal investigator, ray of light could be anything. It could be going through her hair. It could be coming through the trees a certain way. But what was different about this picture is that it had actually shrunk the resolution down to a capability that the phone wasn't even able to have. It brought the megabytes down so low that it should not have registered on that phone. And the only reason she remembered to even bring up this crazy experience is because she saw the picture and her husband asked, "What is this?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, I saw something in the woods." And at the same time, there was something in the sky above the football field just a mile or so away. She could hear the band practicing, so it was very close. So the fact that those two events happened so close together by not only one person that saw it or experienced, but multiple people. I mean, in marching band, there's at least 20 to 30 people. That doesn't include anyone else that was on the field that may have seen it. And it's just so interesting. And that was in Lima, Ohio. That was just an hour the other way. So these things are happening everywhere, but for some odd reason at Skinwalker Ranch, it's just so tense. They've got limestone and granite and quartz and all of these energizing properties that we would typically use in a cleansing or in my readings or those things. And they have located them all raw and naturally into this one spot that has created this some kind of weird portal type deal.
Yeah, quartz and limestones are the biggest things too, like your friend Anna just commented about energizing and whatnot. It's one of those big elemental earthbound rocks that can hold all the energy and create those paranormal whatever, and like gives you the results that you want in all these old locations such as Skinwalker Ranch, or like right next to a river that has limestone quartz. It will give you all the energy that you want, natural energy. And yeah, it's like the biggest thing.
It's all just so interesting. They were, again, on Skinwalker Ranch, they were talking about they had just bought like a post setter for making those fences, and it just disappeared one day. They couldn't find it anywhere. They had no idea. They went out and bought a new one, and they came out, and up like 10-15 feet up in a tree was the post machine. It was suspended in the tree, this massive bit of construction equipment with no possibility of how it could have gotten up there so quietly nonetheless. And it's just, all of this is just so beyond the regular capability of human understanding.
Yeah, you don't know what capabilities the other side have, like what they can do. Because as investigators like us, we know that when we go into a place to investigate the paranormal, ghosts, whatever it's supposed to be there, we don't have all the answers. So it's still a mystery to us. This is why we still do this. Same with UFO hunters and Bigfoot hunters and everything like that. So that's, it's a continuous learning process every time we do this.
And I think that's what makes it so entirely interesting too, is that I don't even know how to go about it. It's just so mind-blowing, all of it. And I want to go and spend a weekend here, because this is just beyond anything that you can possibly imagine. And especially when it comes to the aliens and things. I mean, is it paranormal, or are we looking at different planes of existence? Kind of coming up with the residual hauntings too, how this all ties together. We all are existing at the same time, but what's existing right beside us that we don't know about? Is, the 1920s still going on actively right now, but we're just in a different plane of existence? Are these creatures that we try to talk to, are these skinwalkers, are these ghosts, whatever it may be, is that just something different entirely? We there's so much out there that is not known. Could it be from another planet? Yes. Could it be the air next to us? Yes. Could it be, just a regular old haunting? Could you be getting abducted? Could there be a spirit out in the forest trying to eat you right now? I mean, we don't know what's real and what's not. And where do these people go? These kinds of things are things that humans can't do. There's no reason a construction equipment should be uplifted and put into a tree. There's no reason that a cow should be completely eviscerated. There's no reason that they're saying animal bites were taken out of these things, but everyone's like, it's too big to be this, it can't be this. Well, this was done with, surgical precision, like a 10 blade from a surgery unit or an OR would have to have done this. And yeah, the government did actually take ownership of Skinwalker Ranch for a couple of years. What did the government know about Skinwalker Ranch, and why did they want to be there to understand it? There have been multiple documented cases, everything from interviews to actual footage of whether it's the Air Force or whether it's government in general or our governors or our Senate leaders. They have seen these things and will try to play it off, or they have to lie about it. I've done a lot of research into body language and how people will try to protect themselves, so to say, as they're talking about these things. And you can watch these people get visibly uncomfortable when the government idea gets brought up. Like, there were Air Force pilots, and I highly respect Air Force, especially. My grandfather was part of the Air Force. I know those are no-nonsense people. And to have this audio of pilots saying, this pilot saw something in the sky. He had no idea what it was. He came down. He's white as a ghost. He's scared. I've never seen this man scared before. And that's happened to multiple pilots, multiple people in Air Force or Navy or whoever it may be. It's happened at commercial air places. It's happened at commuter airports. And there's actually documented people saying, even if I did see something, I wouldn't admit to it. Because at that point, you're looked at as a crazy person to be saying all these things that, especially with the paranormal, especially with aliens, a lot of people are still super taboo about it, but it's seen. There's video, there's countless eyewitness accounts. And again, it comes to the point of how many times is there a coincidence before it becomes fact or before it becomes a scientific hypothesis of things that are going on. And it's just, again, what did the government want with Skinwalker Ranch, and what did they know that we still don't know? Look at Project Blue Book and all of that just was released. I mean, that's been going on for almost 7 years, and there's been documented cases of aliens going all the way back to the 40s of military members denouncing it. And I mean, that is a long time of photos. That's a long time of people talking. That's a long time of people seeing things. I mean, that's not any short little 7-year thing. That's decades of these documented cases going on that no one wanted to believe in because you were immediately looked at as a crazy person if you thought of it. I mean, it's so interesting to see all these things laid out in front of you.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's crazy. It's I mean, people back in the 40s and 50s that claim they see UFOs or somebody got abducted or something like that. I mean, they looked at them like they were crazy people. Now these days, I think you got more people that are waking up to the paranormal and things like that, to where they're like, yeah, that could actually happen. I mean, it's just like when you take somebody that's never witnessed anything and you have a unbeliever go to on a ghost hunt with you, and you go to a place and you say, I guarantee you I could put you in this room right here and we can ask you questions and we could come out with a voice. So you go into the room with the person and you have them ask a few questions, or you ask a question, whatever. You come out and review the digital voice recorder, and you get another voice over the recorder. So that shows them that, wow, I didn't hear that when I was in that room. I was like, no, I mean, it's there with us, or where does it come from? Because I believe there's like layers in the universe to where things happen for a reason. It's like almost like a survival kind of a thing, like something else that we don't know of. There's a reason why they do this. It's like a survival kind of thing. They need it to survive.
and see, that's the interesting thing too, is that, obviously Native Americans were here before anyone else was. This is originally their land. This is absolutely their land. And even Christopher Columbus would write about seeing lights over what he saw as the Carolinas. And I mean, it goes back to even ancient Egyptians. People have always said that aliens have helped the Egyptians. But my question is too, is that how far does this stuff go back? Are these just, are essentially spokespeople for the spiritual world of whether it's here or another planet communing at this one place? And I mean, it's just, yeah, Project Blue Book goes all the way back to 1952, and that was actually based out of Dayton, Ohio, too, at the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So to have it so close by, too, is really cool. But I mean, it's so intricate, and everything just, it really throws into perspective. I mean, regular life is complicated. We have to deal with taxes, and we've got to deal with write-offs and all these other crazy things, but what else is going on out there that we are none the wiser to whatsoever? If there is cannibalistic spirits in the woods, whether it is aliens, or maybe those cannibalistic spirits are aliens, or maybe the aliens are the cannibalistic, whatever that may be, we don't know. And to have so many people through history just bringing all of this together at once finally is incredible. It's incredible to have all of this information at our fingertips now, that with all the releases of that knowledge from the Pentagon.
Yeah, government involvement. Yeah, you'll know when something's up and when government's involved and the Pentagon's involved. Just like Area 51, like why is it so locked down? I get it's like government property, but like what are you guys really hiding in there? We know aliens do exist because you guys did say it existed. So like what else are you hiding down there, you know? And same thing with Skinwalker Ranch, like why are you guys so into this right now?
Why? Well, when you finally look at something and realize this poses a real threat to national security and personal security, I mean, it makes sense that the FBI or whoever would actually step in on it too, because that's our airspace. This is all things that we should be protected in and should know about and should be fully aware of. And these are all the things that are not being told to us for a long time. And it's kind of interesting because I think the Project Blue Book and all of that information was released in 2020 when COVID was still a big thing. And it was almost like, here's a quick distraction from
It
this.
is. That's
Yeah.
where conspiracy theories come in and whatnot.
It's
And
so interesting.
and we all love those conspiracy theories and whatnot when the government gets involved and throws a loophole or whatever distraction.
But why are they lying? That's the real question. What are they lying about that we're trying to protect us from?
They always lie. The government is not 110% truthful about anything. I mean, they tell you, "Oh, I need you to take this, so it'll save your life." Well, does it? I mean,
No.
do you really want to take? I mean, do you really want to take something that the government is offering you for free? I wouldn't. I mean, I do not trust our government ever.
You can't.
No,
No,
I don't.
they're all liars, every one of them. They're all liars, and they're doing whatever they can to keep their pockets fat. So, and that's why we're having a hard time right now with gas prices and food shortages and things like that because they don't care. If they actually cared, they would take care of this. They would have took care of this a long time ago. But they worry about other things. They don't care about what we got going on.
It would be taken care of if they didn't close that pipeline.
Well,
What's
that's
that
a whole other thing, but I don't want to get in political stuff.
That pipeline was our source
I mean-
of low gas prices.
Well, it went through native land, through cemeteries on native land. And I mean, if that was going through a veteran cemetery, would we have ripped up all the veteran cemeteries too?
Yeah, they don't care.
No, yeah, but
Why would they care?
technically,
That
this
is
is
why
all.
skinwalkers are eating people. That is why all this is happening, because and that's the interesting thing too with that missing 411. Every single person was white, every single one of them, and for the curse to be put on those mountains saying, "I curse the white man," and it's only white people that have gone missing. Nah, man, I ain't ripping up nothing out there. I'll do a lot of things, but I am not disturbing any of that stuff. That is beyond our comprehension of things. And because, in the history books, we actually destroyed all of that information. All of that was buried at one point, and this is all information that we could be coming up with. When it comes down to the medicine men that become skinwalkers,
Yes.
how and why, and it's all of that information's gone. All of that knowledge that we could have had was destroyed so early on, and we're left pondering here on a June 24th in 2022 of what these things actually are.
Yeah, because our history books, when you go to school and you read the history of things, are not accurate. I don't care what anybody says.
Christopher Columbus
they're
is a
not
god,
accurate.
blah, blah, blah. He's wonderful. No, he was a mass genocide-inducing man that discovered things that were already discovered. I mean,
yeah,
absolutely.
It's like if you find a wax bottle full of stuff, like you don't open it. There are things that are put places and, curses that have been laid, whether that is from witchcraft or from whatever that may be. Things are the way they are for a reason. And you definitely shouldn't touch things that are like that. I mean, they everything from ripping, pharaohs and things from these heavily guarded tombs, and pulling out the things of their sarcophaguses and everything, and the jewelry, and grabbing that. What are you stirring up that was locked away with them? There's too much
Just their
that people don't
personals.
know about.
Just their personals.
It's so interesting to think
Yeah,
about.
they open those tombs. It's like they open up a
It's a curse.
gigantic, divot box or something.
I was
Like,
gonna say
Yeah,
it's a giant
basically.
Dybbuk box. There's a reason
Basically.
they are sealed so deeply, and there's a reason that
Yeah.
those pyramids are mazes meant to confuse people to not get to the person buried there. There's reasons for people being buried with, a stake in their heart or whatever you maybe want to be it. Like people, I've even heard of people tying shoelaces together of people who are deceased in case there's a zombie apocalypse. I mean, we don't know what's going on, and I think the not knowing and being uneducated about things is the most dangerous thing out there.
oh yeah.
I mean, they just tried burning down a satanic temple because they didn't understand what was going on. And I mean, it's just all about not communication or no communication and uneducation.
I feel like I heard that story before. Someone burning down a satanic temple.
It was just like 2 weeks ago. It was the headquarters out in Salem, Massachusetts, and someone had actually set fire to it while there were people inside. So that was the thing that happened. They opened back up, though. Everything got fixed. Everyone was safe, thank God. But yeah, I mean, it's all about not being educated and going into these things half-cocked, and not knowing and being ignorant about these things. I mean, when you're losing top hunters, when you're losing, these people who have hiked all their life and these people who know the trails, and you're losing these things in such a strange way. Yeah, I know I said thank God in reference to Satanism. I know what I said. Uh, but I mean, you genuinely, there's no rhyme or reason as to why these professionals or why these heavily experienced hikers are disappearing in such strange ways and being found in even stranger ways. There's no rhyme or reason to it.
Now, would you think it would be like UFOs, the Skinwalkers, or what do you think it's like an actual like cave monster or whatever, something that's not even in the category of Skinwalker Ranch, like some kind of new breed of
My thought,
whatever?
I don't know. There's too many paranormal things that are surrounding a quote unquote new breed. Like, I wish it could just be a dire wolf and it would be just be like maybe it's a dinosaur that came back to life or whatever it may be. We were doing a Jurassic Park type deal, but that doesn't explain the people being found naked but not drowned in rivers. This doesn't explain the lack of blood from things. This doesn't explain construction pieces being up in trees. This doesn't explain how how metal just randomly becomes magnetized. It doesn't explain these patches of radiation that even we don't understand, and how the animals that were eviscerated or whatever it was are also pushing out that radiation. Why aren't maggots eating them? Why aren't vultures eating them? There's too much weird paranormal things surrounding it that I can't for sure say that it's like a new wolf or Bigfoot or whatever it may be. There's way too much energy and too many things that are coming off of it that make it into something that I look at me. I can't even like put words to what this thing might be or what these things might be. When I grab it next, I don't know how to. We can't screen share because that's what cuts out our audio. But they actually recorded these sounds of these things talking and overlapping. It was this big group of hunters, and they knew when they started hearing things that they had to get into the shelter, and they had made the shelter up. And again, these are hunters that have been doing this for years and years and years. And they all got together in this little hut and they just recorded and listened. And it wasn't human. It wasn't a dog. It wasn't anything that has ever been heard before. And they were spitting out words but then they weren't words, and it was a cry, and then it was a laugh, and then it was more words, and they were overlapping and talking to each other, but none of it made sense. And
it's like a elemental haunting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It makes me wonder if it isn't those Native American spirits, because again, those are all tragic stories because of what the white men did when they came over here. And that's why I'm banking on this paranormal more, because if they are these Native American experience, one of the big things we look for in paranormal investigations is tragic, jarring, horrible stories, and that's what seems to cause the hauntings to be a little bit more intense. And when specifically there has been curses put on this land for the people that have, I don't want to say invaded, but invaded, and it's still, until 2022, is still causing all of these crazy instances. Is it just incredibly haunted? Possibly. Is it aliens? Possibly too. It's so hard to figure out, and that's why there's so many scientific teams that have actually just stationed out on Skinwalker Ranch just to try to figure out exactly what this is. And it's been 3 years. I think they're on season 3 or season 4 of their show, and they're still like, I can't figure it out. And to have all these scientists, and it's everything from ex-military members to Harvard University students to professors, and none of them are able to draw a scientific conclusion at this point because they can't figure it out.
Yeah, we're talking about like the desert of Utah-ish, and like that area, the desert area, is more like Navajo tribes, and each section of the United States, there's specific tribes. Like Ohio is considered as Black Swamp tribe, or Black Swamp or whatever. So you kind of figure that Navajo tribes out west in the desert basically put a curse on their land for whoever's disturbing their stuff and whatever else, and they're skinwalkers watching you and whatever else. It's one of those things, and resorts back to what we discussed about the pyramids and their curse and all that stuff. So that's what I fully believe, is that the Navajo tribe put a curse on the land.
100%. I would have, if I see all these people invading my home for the first time and they're destroying all of it. I've done curses on people for less. All right. And that was the cool thing too, going back to the audio, is that back then, this wasn't a thing that audio could have been edited with. They had an audiologist actually study it, and they made guesses on the creature being roughly 7 to 8 feet in height. And just based off the pitch and the range of sounds is what they were guessing off of. But again, with no visuals or things, there's even videos of like just on the horizon, there's something there, and then it drops down and it stands back up and it doesn't look the same. I just got goosebumps thinking about it, because I've seen so much footage recently, and I've gone through and tried to debunk 90% of it. And I can't figure it out. I mean, I don't know why I'd be smarter than a Harvard scientist, but like, I can't figure it out. These guys can't figure it out. And and like, if you really look at it too, shit didn't really start hitting the fan until we started ripping up those areas for that pipeline. And all of a sudden we have all of this stuff happening. I'm not saying coincidence, but it does look pretty weird that all these curses are still panning out. And again, I've cursed people for less. So, I mean, to have mass genocide and all of these diseases and things, I would have put a hell of a curse on someone too.
See, I'm still hung up on that nuclear stuff, because I don't know if we ever did nuclear testing in Utah, but I know it's heavy in New Mexico. So I'm gonna look that up on like the last time we did a nuclear testing in Utah.
That radiation though was coming from the carcasses.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, was it from a nuclear test? Because I never heard of Utah having nuclear test droppings.
I don't think so either.
So I'm gonna look that up.
That was out there. That was out there in the desert of Vegas, right? Was that Vegas that they dropped the testing of the atomic bomb out there, and it gave people cancer?
Yeah. So
apparently it gave John Wayne and some other. I guess the whole set, when they went out there to film a movie, a bunch of people either ended up with cancer or some people died from that location where they dropped or they were testing for an atomic bomb back in the day. So
it was tested in Nevada, but it's called downwinder. So
Nevada.
Utah was downwind of everything, so it did pick up some of it. And actually, as opposed to the nuclear testing, radon in Utah is particularly concentrated because of the high level of radioactive material in Utah's earth. Unlike other mining states, Utah has a uniquely high amount of uranium, and this means massively more amounts of radon reach living spaces compared to other states. So that's another big thing of like, what is out there? Did an alien get caught up in the radiation? Does the radiation have anything to do with it? Like, there's so much that is just so strange surrounding all of these events and creatures, if that's what they are. And it's just so interesting. Yeah, Nevada test site, 65 miles north of Las Vegas is where they do the most significant weapons tests.
You mentioned downwind, which came to mind, which that's possible because that's what happened to Chernobyl at Ukraine back in 1980 something. Then that nuclear place exploded, and they had a windy day or something like that, and it all went across the whole entire country up north, all the way up to like England, and contaminated everybody from the test site or the plant when it exploded. So I kind of think it's carried by a wind and your whatever, So I think that's a possibility of some kind of contamination.
Yeah, so again, going back to that Skinwalker Ranch show, they actually do those radiation testing, the soil sampling for that. So I found my new obsession is that stinking show, and I just want to learn as much as possible because, I mean, this is just insane. And let's see, it's in Ballard, Utah. So that would actually be, I'm trying to find it on a map real quick so I can see where it's at as opposed to Nevada.
I'm still looking.
So Ballard, Utah, which means I'm going on vacation to Ballard, Utah.
I mean, if we scrape enough money, we can go to Skinwalker Ranch and investigate.
Don't test me, David. Don't do that to me.
Oh no, what should I ever do?
Let's see here. So on the map, it looks like Ballard, Utah is, number one, very tiny, but yeah, there is those mountainous ranges. And the population's only 801, so you already have a very small area. Let's see here.
I'm trying to find some stuff, but I can't.
There's Utah. So yeah, Nevada's right beside it, and Las Vegas is down there, so it's 65 miles outside. I don't know. I don't see how to be downwind of that. That's a big, I don't know. That's a big area to try to go downwind of.
Yeah, I can't.
A little bit of it too.
I can't find anything.
It's just so strange how all that. Yeah, so the whole city does experience the things that happen on the ranch too. So, I mean, if anyone's ever seen that show, Welcome to Night Vale, it's another podcast that I absolutely adore. But it's kind of strange because it's based out in a desert area. It's this city where nothing really quite makes sense. There are the things that the government's trying to hide, and the residents are like, oh yeah, we can't go in the dog park because of those massive figures that are in there, but that's okay. The librarians are cannibals that eat people. And it's just a very chipper way of doing things. But the way they were talking about Skinwalker Ranch in Ballard, Utah reminded me so much of just this strange, mysterious podcast. So, I mean, if you ever want to check out Welcome to Night Vale, that's a really good one. That's the vibes I get from the Skinwalker Ranch nonsense.
Let's see.
Yeah, you also got to look at the land layout of these places that is happening at. I mean, out west, you got a lot more land than we do out east. I mean, we build up so much on the east side of the United States that there's not a lot. We don't have deserts. We don't have. I'm sure we got a lot of woods out here, but out west you got deserts. You have woods out there. You got all kinds of land out there for whatever it is out there to prey on people and other things. So that's how I see it.
Yeah, the last testing that I've been seeing, the last nuclear drop test was shot divider of Operation Julian on 23rd September 92 at Nevada test site was the last U.S. nuclear test. Described as a test to ensure safety of forces, the series was interrupted by beginning of negotiations over comprehensive nuclear test ban treaty. So that was the last thing on U.S. soil. Most recent I see is in North Korea, September 3rd, 2017. So I guess it's been a while since we had a testing. But who knows? The Chernobyl is going to be contaminated for years and generations, and it's going to be contaminated. So it's going to be a long time for that to clear up. But with Nevada and Skinwalker Ranch being contaminated by nuclear testing, if that is the case, it's going to be a long time to even figure what this is or pinpoint if it is nuclear contamination.
So I'm actually looking directly at Skinwalker Ranch, and it's laid in amongst all this water too. So there is mountainous area, there is everything from flowing rivers to the trees to the crazy stones that are in the area. I mean, the sheer amount of space where these things are happening is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, just looking here on Google Maps, I'm able to pull up not only Skinwalker Ranch, but a couple of the outposts that are out there too. And I mean, everything is kind of spread out so perfectly. So this is right outside of Salt Lake City, Utah, and it's in the northeastern corner of Utah is where we're looking at. So right outside of Colorado, right outside of Wyoming. It's closer to Colorado and Wyoming than Nevada. So that, again, kind of pulls back a little bit on the nuclear testing site in Nevada because it's even further away than what I thought originally. It's across the whole state. Which is really interesting because I was expecting it to be on the other side, closer to Nevada, but it's not. Where Colorado juts into it and cuts out that little square, that's where Skinwalker Ranch is, and right below that. So, I mean, that's the complete opposite side of where those testing grounds would have been. So that's even more interesting. There's even underground rivers on the property. So at this point now, you've got the quartz, you've got the limestone, you've got the other areas that are there. You have the potential portals, and now you have running water coming from multiple different areas running through the bottom of this ranch. Are you kidding me? That is a spot like the bat spotlight from Batman, just up in the air to whatever is out there. Come here because this is the energy that we're looking for. So is it just like a VIP club for paranormal things? Possibly. It's like, hey, let's go eat people. Let's go abduct them. They love it out here. I mean, we don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, can you pull up a picture of Skinwalker Ranch on here?
I can probably.
So that's
on my side.
Screen sharing. Yeah, I don't think I can do it from over here.
Yeah, that's on it. Yeah.
I really don't know what it actually looks like, but I'll just scroll through here, put it up, and scroll.
Are you just on the Google page?
Yeah.
Okay,
the
perfect.
handy dandy Google page.
Yeah, they've got the private property keep out. Hold on, let's pull it up.
So this is all the pictures that's related to Skinwalker Ranch. So I'm not 100% sure on what it actually looks like. I know it's just desert in mountain area, mountaintops or hills.
Well, there's like
Here,
500 and some acres. So
Yeah, to that equivalent of 512 acres is 387 football fields from back of the end zone to the other side of the back end zone. That's how big it is. That's equivalent to it, or like 4,700 some basketball courts. That's equivalent to 512 acres.
here we go. Jump me on real quick. I've got some bigger pictures over here.
Okay, let's see.
All right, so give me 1 second. So just over this way, like I said, here's the actual Skinwalker Ranch itself. Then we're gonna go over here.
It looks like Area 51.
Right, it's just
It
not
does.
quite the same, and that's some of the mountainous range.
Yeah.
It's out of the way, and then so it's very open while still being. Oh, that's a lovely picture. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. There's that private property keep out, and they actually have like the biochemical sign with an alien face in the middle, which I think is lovely.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's just this big mountainous range, and it's just all these crazy paranormal activity things happen out this way. I mean, obviously, it's heavily guarded. There ain't no one getting in there that's not supposed to be in there. And I mean, just all of these weird, strange experiences that people can't figure out. And it's just these winding paths. And I mean, even if someone goes missing, you hit the river and you follow that because you're going to hit civilization soon. And all of these trained hikers and huntsmen know those things. And
Right.
I mean, for them to act so out of character and to have multiple people say, you know, I actually don't remember doing X, Y, and Z. I have no memory of this. It's so strange. I can't account for my time here or there. And I mean, not even with Skinwalker Ranch, there's multiple places or people that have said those things while they're dealing with these crazy paranormal experiences. So yeah, here's Skinwalker Ranch on the actual map.
If it wants to load.
Yeah, if it wants to load.
Yeah.
That's always the hard part. Here we go. So right here and here is Skinwalker Ranch. So we got the research outpost here, UFO Valley Campground tours, and all this area right in here is where these things are happening. So if we zoom out some more, this is what I was talking about, how strange it is and how far away. So again, that's all the water cutting through too. So
it's
Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
Skinwalker Ranch is right in here.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So right there, and then if we come over here, Las Vegas, about 65 miles away from that is where the testing site would have been. So we are looking closer up this way, and that's all the way clear over here. So to have, if it was any radiation from over this way, go up and over, because typically the wind is coming down this way. It's following this route.
I mean,
So
it's possible.
It is very possible, yes. However, that is a big jump from there to over here. And again, just to have so many crazy things happening in this little area. I say little, but it's really not that little.
Yeah,
I mean,
like why would it like just have that affected, that little area affected, be minus out the quartz and limestone underground river, but like everything in between, why aren't they not being affected by whatever that's happening there, you know?
It's so interesting. And again, look at all these mountainous ranges. I mean, you've got places to hide, but you also have very little civilization out here too. Even the towns are very, very, very small. And for everyone, almost everyone in these places to have some kind of experience of one kind or another, I mean, it's It's baffling.
Right.
It makes no sense.
I don't know. I feel like they're heavily showing themselves in a deserted area where nobody's around, you know. So that's one of my theories, in which basically everything's happening in the desert.
I don't even, to try to wrap your head around the things that are happening in this area is just so beyond anything of normal human understanding. Hold on, let me see one other thing. I want to know if I can't get a street view of Skinwalker Ranch, or if they have that blocked off too. Because typically, I'm the hacker man. I got this, possibly. So let's see here. Let me see if I can't get any closer. So Fort Duchesne, Skinwalker Ranch. And then we're going to drop it down to Street View. Skinwalker. Okay, hold on. So then let's do that here. Yeah, I don't think it's even going to give me the Street View. Yeah, that's, if that tells you anything, it's not even letting me drag and drop. I mean, you can't see typically. So, I mean, usually Google's pretty good about that. If there was a tragic event that happened, or if there's something that you're not supposed to see, they block it out. And I mean, the fact that I can't even drop a pin anywhere near this area at all.
It's on marked road.
No, even the marked roads, though. That's what I find interesting.
They probably caught an alien and don't want you to see it.
Yeah, I can't drop anything out that way. They did that for the Shenanigan house, too.
Yeah, they probably want to keep it classified as much as possible. So they're not
absolutely. I would.
I'm sure.
Doesn't mean that they're not sloppy in some points or another, but I guess they're not. Dang.
Well, you keep on researching, and we probably have a part 2 for that one.
Oh no, I've got to look more into
there. 3.
Whatever shall I do?
Part 3.
Anna, you hear that? We're streaming together, bitch. We're gonna watch the whole thing.
So, next topic.
We'll have her on the show.
Absolutely, I'll bring her on. It's fine.
We could.
Yeah.
The Wendigo, since you have so much information about that too.
That kind of ties in with the 411. So that was what, again, we don't know if it's a Skinwalker or if it may be Wendigo, or again, it may be aliens. So it's kind of interesting how all three of those seem to coincide together and create these strange occurrences, if that's what they are that's doing this. Again, it could just be, I mean, people going mad, but there's too much that shows against that. There's too much evidence that's not evidence. It's so interesting because we do have all this information, and we don't know what to do with it because none of it lines up the same way. So that's part of the scientific method, is you have to be able to recreate these things and get the same result for it to actually go from a hypothesis to a fact. And we are still at this hypothesis point because none of us can figure it out. That's why there's constant scientists in this area, because they want to figure it out. There are people that are actually actively trying to understand what is not understandable. And I think that's the most interesting part. And
so basically you're saying the Wendigo could be in ties with Skinwalker Ranch.
I feel like they all come in ties. So they're both Native American legends, but the difference is that a Skinwalker was a Native American shaman. He was a magic man, a medicine man that was possessed by this creature at some point. When there was another Skinwalker available, and it created this, I don't want to say a possession, but essentially a possession. Whereas a Wendigo is a human who has resulted into cannibalism, who has eaten another person's flesh, and that spirit has been corrupted and turned into a Wendigo. So at some point they're very different, but they're also very similar. And again, we don't know if it's alien abductions or not, because this is surrounding those areas where like the Phoenix Lights happened and the Roswell incident. It's all kind of moves together. So it could be any of those three things, or it could be all of the above. I mean, to have the surgical precision to cut those things in the way that they were filleted. They weren't, chopped open with an axe. They weren't cut open with anything crazy. It was surgical style slices. There's just too many strange things for anyone to be able to form a solid, it's this or it's that, or, again, it could be aliens because they have seen so many lights in the skies, but at the same time, they're on cursed land too. I mean, there's so much it could be, and there's so much that lines up together but doesn't line up at all. And I think that's what's so intriguing to not only scientists, but to people like us, is because we just don't know. We're not sure.
Let's see, like the Wendigo, I kind of think it's not more desert area, more like here in Ohio where we have trees and like I don't know, what do you want to say, like hiding spots for it to like do its thing and like eat people and do its magic of not leaving any trace of bodily fluids and whatever else when they attack,
It's very interesting. And even here again in Ohio, we had that event in Lima with the thing in the woods, but I have actually personally seen one or two things. And again, I always try to discredit myself just because of, everything that's going on. But I brought it up to my husband and I was like, at your mom's house, I saw this giant wolf run into the woods, and it was so strange. It blocked out the light. It was massive. It was bigger than the Jeep. And I'm like, it was just my brain, whatever was happening. And I was telling my husband about that, and he kind of looked at me weird. And I was like, yeah, I know I sound crazy. And he goes, no, me and Danielle saw the same wolf. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, it was this massive black wolf that was out running by the woods in my mom's house. And, it disappeared. We don't know what happened to it, but it was gigantic. And I just kind of looked at him like he was crazy. And he looked at me like I was crazy. And I mean, we don't know. Because again, all of this land in the U.S. was native land. Yes. There's no denying that. I mean, we destroyed so much that we don't know what's truly out here. There was so many records and so many things that we destroyed at one point, and all of that's gone. And now we're starting from scratch, actually worse than scratch, because everything that we could have studied is now gone. And a lot of, native tribes actually don't like talking about these kinds of things because it's a lot like Voldemort. You can't say the name because it brings the thing around. And that's the theory of a lot of people have. So it's like the more attention you give something, the more you're bringing it around yourself. What are you possibly bringing around yourself by opening yourself up to these kinds of things? I loved going for a walk in those woods because there was something weird out there. And again, I thought I was just crazy, whatever it may be. But just being out there and to kind of walk and then to hear the entire woods go quiet, dead silent, not a sound. And I mean, that's enough in and of itself. But I've had too many experiences at my mother-in-law's house. And now to have my husband be like, oh yeah, I've had experiences very similar to yours. And my husband's he's got a much different belief system than I do. But for him and I both to corroborate on seeing that giant wolf at two different times in the same area, do we have one? I don't know. I don't know what's out there. I mean, anything could be out there. And I think that's what makes it simultaneously scary and exciting, because that makes me want to go camp out in the woods and see what I can try to find, because there are so many people that are like, I was too scared to pull up a camera. I might be terrified too, but you bet your sweet bippy I'm going to have a GoPro going. I'm going to have it strapped to my forehead. So that way, everywhere my head goes, that camera goes. And I mean, you genuinely don't know. We went out to Gore Orphanage in the middle of the night too. And again, that's already a weird place as it is. Gore Orphanage has a lot of energy in it just because of people trying to, summon things or talk to things that might not be there, but they're opening up portals or whatever it may be. There was something in the woods out there too. I was with another paranormal group. It was my roommates. They just called me up and like, hey, we're going to Gore Orphanage tonight. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'll be there in like 20 minutes. And we get there and my husband's got really tense. He's like, I don't like how this feels. And my husband's actually has Native American blood in him too. And he's like, I just don't like how it feels. I don't want to be out here. And the entire time, my eyes are like glued to the trees, and I couldn't figure out why. Like, I just couldn't look away from them. And I ended up like falling behind a little bit. I kind of stopped along the tracks and didn't realize I had stopped walking. And Jonah had to come back and grab me. And he's like, "You got to stay with the group, lady. It's dark. It's almost 1 o'clock in the morning. We're on someone else's property." I'm like, "I'm sorry. I thought I saw something." He goes, "Well, you're coming with me." And he held my hand. He wouldn't let me stay by myself anywhere else. So could it have been? I don't know. But there's just so much out there that's unknown and unsure that, I mean, what is it? That's all we can ask is what is it? Because none of us know what it truly is.
Well, I kind of want to go to the Gibbs Bridge up in Sylvania. That's supposed to be like a really haunted little bridge. So either depending on how I feel after work tonight, I kind of want to see if Tara wants to go and do it tonight, but she's coming home too from work.
If we could do it like next weekend, I've got a graduation party to go to, and my mother-in-law will kill me if I miss her last son's graduation party. So I'd rather not run the risk of my mother-in-law's wrath.
Or I could do it tomorrow night. But next Friday, next 2 Fridays, my schedule is 11 to 7, so I get off at 7 o'clock. And
interesting.
And that's where I was like, let's do an 8 o'clock showing.
Well, the Gibbs Bridge is only an hour away. So, I mean, if you guys want to go do that, we can do that.
Right. And so, like, I figured, like, since I have those 2 Fridays like that, we can do a podcast at 8 p.m.
I was like, 8 a.m., boy, you get me up at 11. I don't know what you're talking about.
But, so that was my thing. And then we could probably move to Gibbs Bridge and do like a little investigation, see what we can find. I know she won't touch the Screaming Mimi out in Old Fort. I know she won't touch that one. So
let's go. We'll take a day trip.
But like in between investigations like this, I kind of want to go to places like that. So see what we can find, I guess.
We could always go back to C.O.R. Orphanage too. That way I won't have my lovely husband trying to babysit me. I'll just end up in the woods somewhere.
Yeah.
You guys will turn around and I'm gone.
Let's not do that because I don't want to have to do a search party.
You come around and my shoes are in one place and then I've got my hat hung up in another and then.
So, the updates. I contacted the Octagon Mansion or Manor or whatever it is in Circleville, Ohio. And I'm going to see if we can book a date for next year. Hopefully things get a little bit better with gas prices and traveling expenses and stuff like that to do it. Other than that, we don't have any updated stuff going on. I'm still trying to work out details for like a paranormal workshop. As far as I know, it's probably going to be at the Alley Tap Room in Clyde. So I got to figure more details on that or how I want to do it. Joe, what's your updates on your team in your weekends?
Yeah, we got the Gamble Museum tomorrow night in Blanchester, Ohio. And this is the one where we're filming for supposedly Zach Baggins. So that's if it's actually going to him. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know who it's going to.
Hey, you should
next month we get. I hear you. But next month we got Poasttown Elementary School, the Academy again in July with Brian Cano, which we'll be working with Brian again. And see how that goes. So, and then I don't know after that, really. I mean, me and my guys will have to figure out more stuff. Then in September, we got the Academy again. And in December, we got the Academy again with Brian Cano. And we got, I mean, see where it goes. I mean, like you said, the gas prices are outrageous. So it's kind of hard to just jump in a car and take a trip to go investigate somewhere far away. So
Yeah, my gas
Yep.
tank. I just got back from Pittsburgh over the weekend, and I went through 2 gas tanks, and it was $78 to fill my little tiny Elantra up. Little tiny Elantra, dude, $78. I did not sign up for this.
Nope.
We're taking a plane to
agree.
Skinwalker Ranch, buddy. We're taking a plane.
That's even worse. That's like $500 just go across nation.
I'll take it. Probably pay
Uh,
gas anyway.
Sid, what about your business? What's your updates? What's your openings looking like? How can they find you?
So I'm fully open. I've got an open schedule. But you can find me on Facebook at Readings by Sydney, or you can just shoot me a message at Sydney Hernandez. I'm got like a weird picture up, I think, right now. I don't know what it is. But you can tell it's me. It's a hot mess. But I've got the flea market next month. So it's going to be the first weekend of July. And I will be doing the flea market out there along with Pink Zebra. So we'll be doing some really good smelly, waxy, good scents and stuff. And then I'll be doing readings and jewelry as well. I've got that fundraiser at the B&O Railroad coming up in September as well. That's going to be a 2-day event. That's going to be investigations. That'll be workshops and different psychics that I'll be working with. And I'll be there with Patrick Gorman. Very excited about that. That's going to be a big event. And then whatever investigations we have coming up. So hopefully, whether it's a day trip or a quick trip down to a bridge, hopefully here soon. But I've got a couple different investigations that I'm trying to get together as well. And trying to piece together for the team and see what we can go across with.
I should give you our extra merchandise to give away from our last group name.
May as well, dude. We got to get new ones.
Because they're just taking up space and I'm tired of looking at it. So I'm probably going to give it to you just to give out for free.
Yeah, for sure. I gotcha.
In that case, I should look into some new t-shirt designs and stuff like that.
I'll design a couple too, and I'll send them to the group chat and see what everyone thinks.
Whatever you want to do.
Alrighty.
I would like to find somewhere cheap because I'm cheap. But other than that, go support.
My wife makes mine.
Oh, you got
interesting.
You got the press
Cricket.
Oh, we do too.
We got the cricket. Yeah.
So we got one in the basement.
She makes my t-shirts, and it's not like we have to wear this. We don't have to look alike or anything like that. I'm like, man, be creative. You know what I mean? Be creative.
That's why I'm the dropout art student, my friend. I got you.
Well, you got to be creative. I mean,
you have to. That's what catches people's attention.
Yeah, be creative.
That's why I airbrush all my stuff. That's why everything I get project-wise, I do myself.
All right. So, support Corpse on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, I guess. Newark Paranormal Society, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. What am I missing from
Twitter?
You guys? Twitter.
Twitter.
I'm always so go follow us. We do have a Facebook group for Corpse. Answer the questions to be eligible to be approved. We do have a Facebook group, Haunting the Haunted Podcast, where we talk about the show, feature topics, questions, comments, concerns. Go like Sid's reading page. Go help her out. You can find this podcast on available podcast platforms such as Anchor, Podbean, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Samsung, Player FM, Google Podcast. If you want to support and donate, you can go to patreon.com/haunting the haunted. And you get some loyalty prizes when you do that. So we'll see you guys next Friday at 8 p.m. and see if we can conjure something up.
So what you're saying is I got to bring a bunch of stuff.
Kind of tempted to play with the Ouija board.
That's what I'm saying. If anything, I'll take it home with me. It's fine. Like a bad roommate that doesn't pay rent.
Yeah, that's what it is. All right. See you guys next week.